I know there's AI agents that talk now and do a pretty good job at it, but at the end of the day, when it comes to dealing with people, I still prefer to see humans dealing with humans.
Today, to discuss AI's role in agility, we're here with our CEO, Rob Brough. Hi, Rob. Let's begin with our first question. How would you describe agility's approach to adopting new technologies such as AI?
Well, I think the best answer for that is cautiously. You know, we do want to stay up with technology to make our clients, give them the flexibility that they need and any cost savings that come along with it. AI has been around a couple of years. There's a lot of fluff out there about the capability of AI and what AI can do. So, you know, my answer, I suppose, is cautiously. We do have an initiative that we're currently working on for our healthcare clients, and we also have another one for the accounting community that we're going to start marketing over the next 1 or 2 months.
The second question is, what motivated Agility to integrate AI into our outsourcing services?
Well, I think the answer to that, I go back to my first answer is we want to do this cautiously, but we also don't want to get left behind. We want to be able to enhance the operations of our clients. So, you know, it's something that we have to do, but as I said earlier, we're doing it cautiously. It's step by step. We're not rushing into it.
Our next question is AI part of our long-term strategy or is it a support tool?
Well, I think it's a support tool today. It obviously is part of our long-term strategy to embrace AI and step our way through the process. It does concern me, I have to say, because already we see in various industries, especially with programmers in the US, where you've got tech companies laying off literally thousands and thousands of young programmers. It worries me about where the job market's going to go. And you know, what if every country in the world ends up with 25 or 30% unemployment because AI is taking over the role of so many people, especially young people who miss that stepping stone to be able to learn and gain the skills, but learn their profession and gain the skills that are necessary to advance up the ladder. So I don't know where all this ends, but I do have to say, Nia, that I am concerned about it, and I don't want to see mass layoffs of people with AI. I want to see AI making people's jobs easier, getting rid of a lot of the grunt work and allowing people to be able to serve their stakeholders in a much more comprehensive way, but without massive layoffs.
So talk to us about the AI plus human hybrid model and why this is the superior approach, especially for industries like healthcare.
Well, I think, Nia, that this goes back to my previous answers, and I really want to see AI being a tool that humans can work with to get rid of some of the drudgery and use humans for what they're good at, which is using human knowledge, use human empathy, use the skills that humans have with humans. And you know, I know there's AI agents that talk now and do a pretty good job at it, but at the end of the day, I believe, you know, all of business is people dealing with people, and AI working away in the background doing, you know, grudgery work is all fine. But I think when it comes to dealing with people, I still prefer to see humans dealing with humans. You know, and I know in my own business, I've never subscribed to the let's get really cheap and let's replace our front desk, our receptionists, with some kind of phone system that you've got to go through this menu, and by the time you get to where you need to be, you're so upset you really want to throw the phone against the wall, because I feel like that every time I have to use it. And I've got to say, I feel like that when I'm talking to robots right now as well. The robots are generally useless as well, and it drives me insane. You know, people want to deal with people, and especially, you know, in healthcare, we're dealing with a lot of older people. I personally don't want to see AI go there. I know it will one day, but I personally don't want to see that. So as I say, I believe that using AI to be able to enhance the way people work, to be able to make them faster, to be able to get rid of errors, especially keying errors, entering data, things like that, it's just a great thing. So you're talking about software automation on steroids, really, and that's a great thing. And you get rid of rework, you get rid of quality problems, but people can still use people's innate skills when dealing personally with stakeholders. And so the AI plus human model is simply that. That's what I call it, which is, hey, we'll create smart software automation that helps support people and let people front that and use what's good about both. But let's not eliminate people.
In terms of workforce impact, how has AI changed the nature of work for your employees?
Well, currently it hasn't. It's really early days. Lots of people are working out within the healthcare space and within the accounting space how they can use AI in the ways that I've already mentioned. And it's generally around, how do we speed up processes that humans have to do that might make the process very slow, like data entry, for instance. It just makes no sense not to use, let's call it smart software automation. But at the same time, I don't want to see huge job losses around this. So it's how do we use people more effectively, and the people we have, and not lay off like you see with the huge US tech companies laying off literally tens of thousands of people. That to me is a real problem. And you've got young people who can't get jobs or struggle to find jobs, on that first step of the ladder. And so, companies, I think, have to reinvent themselves in the way they deal with people as this happens. And, it could be a great thing for people, including the staff that we have. We have a staff leasing model, so really how companies employ the staff that we provide to them remotely is up to them. But, using those staff smarter, getting more value from them, rather than having them, down in the muck, dealing with this work that's drudgery, is a great thing and can relieve a lot of pressure off people, and you're going to have much happier staff getting rid of that work, so long as they can be engaging with stakeholders in a way that adds value to the organisation. And that's where I see the potential uplift.
Has AI reduced the need for certain roles, or will it open more opportunities for the company to serve clients?
That's a good question, Nia. And so right now it hasn't, but I know, certainly my largest client is working on various AI initiatives. Ultimately it could affect jobs, and I'm just hoping that it's used in a way that won't dramatically affect jobs. That it is used to enhance the quality of the work that gets done. So in other words, you don't have keying errors, you don't have any mistakes that have to be reworked. So quality scores can, be 100% instead of 98%, in the particular case of the client that I'm talking about. And that staff can be used to enhance other value within the organisation. I think that eventually where AI is going, as I said earlier, it does concern me. I can see, especially with agentic AI, where you can largely replace humans with thinking pieces of software. It could really badly impact jobs if we allow it to. And my personal hope is that governments step in and just don't allow it. I don't know what you're going to do with the population. But already if you go onto YouTube or TikTok and you see all these people talking about, you can create an agent and this agent can do all this work for you and you can go to sleep and you'll be earning money while you sleep. Yeah, good luck with that if you try and do that on an industrial scale, because I can tell you, my partner that I work with in AI, has had 20 years in software automation leading up to, now working on agentic AI, and industrial scale, industrial strength AI is expensive to develop, expensive to run, it's not cost free, and like any computer program, anything can happen. So, and of course the amount of energy it takes to run these things is huge. So I think, and again, why I say I'm approaching this cautiously, because, you know, there's so many problems in the world today. You know, there's the threat of war. If even in the skirmishing that's going on, you know, the threat of internet disruptions, electrical disruptions, you know, there's so many potential threats. And I think if businesses aren't careful, they could face tremendous problems if they jump into so-called AI bots, both feet, and depend on them too much. Because people, you can redeploy them if there's an issue in an area. People, you can teach them new things very quickly. If your AI is down for whatever reason, you've got a major problem. And you know, I personally would never like to see a company relying 100% on AI and having no people. Again, like you see a lot of content creators talk about. You know, it's just so much fluff out there and so much misinformation. But this is difficult, it's expensive to continue to run, and so it's not, you know, it can be cost effective, don't get me wrong, but it's not cheap. And so to me, yes, using it in the right way and then utilising your people in the right way along with it, the human plus or the AI plus human model that I talk about, that I believe is something that will work well, I think will do really well. But 2 feet in, 100% AI, relying on agentic AI bots for everything in the future, just think about what that means for the world and means for the communities that we live in. If people are out of work, what are they going to do? So you've got to think about these things. You can't just be blindly into this. And to me, having my staff, paying them well, giving them, even though they're remote staff and we're based in the Philippines, I make sure my people have a living wage. And you know, my thing has always been to pay at least double what the salaries in some of the major BPOs are. You know, wringing every last dollar out of everything. There's more to life than that. So I know that's a long-winded answer there, but that's how I feel about it.
Can you elaborate on the productivity gains that we talk about?
Yes, on the examples that I've got up on our website, an agent that we created for a client, it's a patient onboarding agent, and it deals with a difficult problem, which is handwritten faxes coming from doctors' offices. So, you know, I'd say 90% of incoming patient data is through an EHR and it's already digital. But where you've got to deal with this kind of problem, one, it can be difficult to read those documents. And so having smart software that can read them very accurately, present them for comparison to be checked, and then go on and do other aspects of the onboarding process automatically, really helps free up the human that's overseeing. Now, one thing you do have to remember, of course, is, and this applies to any AI agent, if your AI agent is working in a piece of software or multiple pieces of software, it can only work as fast as that software works. So if that software is slow that particular day for whatever reason, it can't work faster than the software. So in the example that we've put up, we see that a human working at, you know, warp speed, if you like, could work with up to 5 AI agents working with data, rather than 5 humans doing that job. So that's the scale that you could get out of it, pushing the human to the ultimate limit, which is not anything I recommend. But certainly there's a lot that can be done by through automation, as long as you use this AI plus human. The human can check the work. We do it so the human can check each major step and make sure that everything is correct, and allow the software to proceed onwards, rather than let it do everything in the background and later on you find out that it's screwed up. That's not going to be a good thing. So that's the approach that we've taken.
Are there specific industries or types of clients that benefit most from AI-enabled outsourcing?
I don't think so, Nia. I think every area of business can use AI. I think a lot of it depends on the size of the business, because as I said, if you want to develop, let's call it industrial scale AI software solutions, they're not cheap. And you know, I in business certainly wouldn't like to be relying on some of the ones that I see talked about by these content creators on TikTok and YouTube. I'm not saying they can't be done, but that's not something that can be done at an industrial scale and reliably. So, it depends on the size of the business a lot, but I think every business, and certainly the two areas that with HealthScope Agility that we deal with, the two main areas that we deal with are accounting and various healthcare applications. So in both of those I do see applications.
So how can we assure clients about data security and safety with the AI plus human service?
Well, the way we're doing our development is we treat the AI bot like a human. So they run off a computer. Just the easiest way to think about it is, let's say that you've got a laptop and we could run 2 AI agents on one laptop. Now, those AI agents are given credentials to get into client systems just like their human counterparts. It might be RCM Agent 1 at whatever the client's email is. And they get issued with that email address, they get issued with the login credentials, and they log in automatically, just like a human does. And all of the work is done within the client system. So all of our usual IT security protocols remain in place, and they work within the client systems just as human beings do today, very successfully. We are ISO 27001 certified, so we work to very strict standards. We get a ISO recertification every year. So, I believe in making sure that we can deliver very secure systems for our clients, from the aspect of where our people are working in our offices, gaining access to client systems.
Can you talk to us about what clients can expect within the 4 to 6 week onboarding process?
The time it takes to develop an agent, we have an agent we call Specia, which my partner developed, my AI partner developed. So what we do is we take Specia and we code that to the client's business rules. Then, of course, we test the agent near. So the agent has to be tested in the sandbox, and we make sure the agent is doing as it should. And with the AI plus human model, we then deploy the agent live, and we're doing it in a way where the human is checking each major step to make sure that the AI is performing as it should.
And to wrap up, our final question is, how do you measure whether AI is actually delivering better results than human-only processes?
With every process, you have your KPIs. And what I would be wanting to see is 100% quality scores. So instead of having, I know a lot of our quality scores are already 100% with humans, but we've got some at 98%. And every time you've got a quality issue, you've got a rework issue. So that's more work that has to be redone, and that's not something that any business really wants to tolerate. So I think it's quite a simple answer, Nia, is are you meeting the KPIs that you set out for the software automation project that you started with? And for me, it all comes down to productivity. Do you meet the productivity goal based on the speed of the third-party software sets that you're working in? And do you meet 100% quality goal? Because that should certainly be the goal.
Thank you, Sir Rob.
Thank you, Nia.
Thank you. To learn more about our AI plus human hybrid model, visit our website.